So this video is for anyone who's been thinking about maybe starting to make authortube videos, writing vlogs, anything and everything having to do with author content on YouTube, or honestly any author platform. I started this channel a little over 5 months ago now, and I've managed to reach almost 1,600 subscribers. I'm really close to being monetized. I think I'm going to be monetized in the next couple weeks, which means I've hit almost 4,000 watch hours. My videos have been getting at least 1,000 views per video now, and I've only posted around 17 videos, but I've managed to grow my channel quite a bit in my opinion. Of course, I'm still in my beginning stages, so my numbers aren't crazy, but for me, this was pretty quick growth compared to what I had experienced with my previous channel. So I wanted to share some of my tips for why I think I've been able to grow relatively quickly, as well as some advice if you're thinking about starting on authortube, tips to make a successful channel and have your videos reach a wide audience, as well as a little chat about some of the reasons why starting an authortube channel might be beneficial for you, things to consider before you get into it, and all that. Let me know any questions that you have about this topic down in the comments. I'll be sure to respond to you guys. Also, I'm having this little berry milk. I heated up some like blueberries and blackberries and just like whisked it together with milk. It looks kind of delicious actually. I think I could have added some more berries. It does just kind of taste like milk. So let's discuss some quick background into my channel before we get into this. I started my channel, I think like the last week of October of this year, knowing that I wanted to leverage NaNoWriMo as like my first month of really making content. If you guys do not know, NaNoWriMo is a writing challenge month where a ton of authors try to write like 50,000 words in the month. And I thought that would be a prime opportunity to start my channel because I would get the momentum from making content around NaNoWriMo. And that was like the best thing I could have done in the entire world. It really worked. And in the month of November alone, I gained 582 subscribers. So like right after my channel was created, I really hit the ground running and was able to grow quite a bit in that first month. After that initial spike of growth, my channel dropped quite a bit for the months of December and January, but really had another gust of wind in February, and since then has been doing the best it's ever done. I'll put a little graph of how the growth has looked in terms of views. And something that I find super interesting, even more so than the subscriber growth necessarily, is that my engagement rate, as well as the percentage of people who view my videos who then end up subscribing, is way higher on this second channel than it ever was on my first channel, and honestly way higher than I could have even anticipated. Like I've never gotten more than like 100 subscribers in a month on my main channel, even when I was getting a lot more views than I am on this channel. So I want to share with you guys what I think has kind of allowed that to be the case, like what I think I've done that has helped to set my channel up for success and help me to kind of gain that really engaged audience. So first things first, let's talk about some like pros and like cons of starting an authortube channel in case you're still like in the decision phase, some things you can consider. So let's talk about some of the benefits. So first off, I think if you are hoping one day to self-publish or to launch some sort of service, maybe you want to be a freelance editor or cover designer, or maybe you want to just like publish your books, having a platform, building a platform is extremely valuable, and setting yourself up for success in the way of already starting to build a platform for in the future when you do launch or publish is really great. Some would argue that it's not ideal to be building an audience of writers if what you're aiming to attract is readers for your future books. I don't know. I think that's kind of an oversimplification because a lot of writers are readers. And I know personally, as someone who watches other authors on YouTube, I get so interested and invested in them and their process that one, I want to support them by buying their books, but two, I'm just genuinely curious to see the finished product of the process that I've been watching. So I, as a consumer of authortube, know that I would go and actually read those books. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same. So being able to get people excited about your novels that you're going to publish in the future is a huge benefit of starting on authortube, as well as just getting people interested in you, your process, wanting to follow you on your journey, which is ultimately going to help to support you along the way. So I think that's a huge reason why authortube can actually be a very strategic move for you, as well as just fun because you're gaining an audience who wants to follow on your writing journey. Another huge benefit of authortube is accountability and motivation. I've experienced this. I know other authors have talked about experiencing this. When you're vlogging your writing, you have to be writing, right? I know I'm a lot more productive in my writing when I do have a vlog that I'm filming. Every once in a while, I do crave writing without filming it because it can start to drive you a little bit crazy if they're always so intertwined, but I find it really motivating, as well as it does keep me accountable to stay on a sort of schedule or move things along, because I don't want to be drafting for 8 months and only posting drafting vlogs. You know, I want to move along and be able to make content about revising and then eventually have a book to give to my audience. So that helps me to stay motivated to keep going with the writing process, knowing that people are like watching and I don't want to be dragging my feet through the mud and then have them being like, she's still working on the same goddamn book. Like that little bit of pressure is really helpful to me personally for my writing process. Also, you obviously get community. You get to connect with other authors, relate on your shared struggles, hear other people's projects. I love hearing about what books you guys are working on, what stage of the process you're in, as well as I've been able to make some authortube friends. So other authors where we like comment on each other's videos, like saying how much we loved their content, and it's really sweet. And it's given me a sense of community that I honestly didn't even expect from authortube. I also met Nick, who's now one of my close friends, through this channel. And of course, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. We all need money to survive. So authortube can also be profitable. I've already done a sponsorship with only like 1,500 subscribers, which honestly is something I had not even thought about previously as being a possibility. And this can be really valuable, especially if, say, your goal is to eventually be a full-time creative of some sort, full-time self-published author. Diversified income streams is really important, and YouTube can not only be an income stream, but also open the doors to other income streams. Let's say you're interested in freelance services. You can advertise those on your YouTube channel and help push clients there, or you could start a Patreon, which could become another income stream source. But having YouTube as like a base hub is really valuable because then you're building an audience of people who might be interested in things that you do in the future. I know I personally have it as a goal of mine to hopefully be able to scale the income that I'm creating from this channel so that I can dedicate a lot more of my time, not only to creating content, but also to my writing. And I don't think there's any shame in that, you know? It's totally fair to want to make money from something in order to free up more of your time to then pour into those passions. Those are some of the pros. Now let's just quickly dive into some of the cons. And by cons, I really mean things that you should just think about before you start, because I am of the belief that while I think anyone could start a YouTube channel, not everyone should start a YouTube channel. I say this because I think that there is a real underestimation of the sheer amount of work, patience, and different skills that are required to start and obtain a YouTube channel. To post once a week is going to require hours of work from you. Filming time, hours spent editing. Editing takes forever. Even if you're just doing basic cutting out the pauses, it can take a really long time. I think people really underestimate that. Plus, for the majority of creators, it's going to take quite some time to grow. It's going to be a while before you make money, at least several months. For me, the first time around, it was over a year to make money. First time around, meaning with my other channel. You have to be ready to be patient, and you need to know that it's a long-term investment in yourself, your career, etc. to do this, and be willing and able to take on the extra hours of work in your week. If you know that you're going to have very little patience for editing, or you just have no desire to put in that extra effort, maybe authortube isn't the platform for you. Obviously, there are other platforms where you can make content a little bit faster. For example, TikTok and Instagram. That might be a better fit for you. But I personally love the creative process of creating videos. I like sitting down and editing them for hours on end, as well as the like creativity of getting different shots. And I like consuming YouTube. So that's why YouTube was the right platform for me. I feel like it's the one that I know the best and enjoy the most, but it might not be the right platform for you. So take into consideration whether or not you have the time and honestly the willpower in order to stick with this consistently week over week, knowing it's going to take hours and you might not see very good results at the beginning. I feel like I really lucked out with this channel in the sense that I was able to get an audience pretty quickly, but that is definitely not always the case. And like I said, I've experienced the opposite before. So, and sort of going off of that, there are definitely certain skills required for YouTube. And I totally believe that these are things that you can acquire and build as you're creating the content. But just be aware that if you do not yet have those skills, it's probably going to take you longer to get comfortable with making videos, to get your quality up to a standard that's really watchable by the general public. I kind of had a little bit of an advantage because I went to film school, so I was already familiar with Premiere Pro and some basics of like filming things. But even so, it was a huge learning curve. You're gonna have to learn how to do basic graphic design so that you can design your thumbnails. Like I said, how to use an editing software. Eventually, you're gonna want to get equipment. Like I have a Sony camera, which I'll have linked in the description, but it was, you know, multiple hundreds of dollars to buy the camera. There's just a lot involved. What I will say though is you can start with the bare bones and work your way up, but just know that that will take time once again. And if you're not starting with your quality already up to snuff, then your growth is probably going to have more of a slow and steady route. But yeah, when you're first starting out, I think it's totally fine to just film with your phone. I know Sarah LeBrat, who I watch and is an author tuber, still uses her phone, and I think her video quality is great and really enjoyable. So it's definitely possible. You can get like a little external mic for your phone, and she also uses iMovie, and again, I think her videos are great. So before we get super into my advice, let's talk about just some of the things you need to think about when you're starting a channel. You're obviously going to need something to film with. You can totally start with your phone, but once you decide that this is something you want to stick with long term, I would definitely recommend updating to a camera sooner rather than later. It's something that I wish I had done even earlier than I did, because the quality difference is huge. like honestly huge. I have the Sony ZV-E10. I do really like this camera. It's pretty beginner friendly as well, so that's always linked in the description. And I have this little Rode Video Micro microphone that I just plug into the top of the camera really easily. Getting comfortable on camera, getting comfortable vlogging, and just talking to a camera in general is something that only comes with time. It's not natural for the majority of people. It's going to feel really awkward and forced at first, and you're going to feel like you can't speak naturally. But with time, you'll get a lot more comfortable being conversational with the camera. I think I had a little bit of an advantage when I started this channel because I already knew how to talk to a camera from having made videos for like 2 years before that. So I could start off really strong with the camera presence, but I still sometimes struggle with feeling super awkward. I would definitely recommend making videos that are on the longer side for multiple reasons. One, people are going to be able to get more invested and attached to your content. If you're creating longer videos, they're spending more time with you. Two, it'll help you to reach your watch hours faster, which if you want to get monetized might be important to you. And I've also just noticed that my longer videos tend to do better in general. I just feel like YouTube likes them as well and tends to push them out. In terms of creating your thumbnails, you can use Canva as a really great free option. I happen to use Photoshop because I already own it, but I do also sometimes use Canva just because I think it's so great. And as far as video editing goes, like I mentioned earlier, iMovie is a great place to start if you don't have access to something like Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro. Something else that you're going to need is access to royalty-free music. I almost always have very quiet music playing in the background, even when I'm just talking in a video. And then obviously in the clips where I'm vlogging or I'm out and about in LA, I'll have louder music accompanying those shots. I get my music from Epidemic Sound. If you want a free option, Thematic is a great place to start. They have a free version. In terms of coming up with actual ideas for your content, some of the things that I have found really helpful is one, looking to other creators, which videos of theirs are working, which types of titles and topics have been popular for them. Is that something you can recreate? Doing any sort of writing challenge is going to really do well for you. Anytime you can put a word count or something impressive in the title, that can work. So whether that's writing for 24 hours or writing 5,000 words in a day, I've seen those videos do really well for other creators and notice they do well for me as well. Anything where you're like trying something, people love a writing challenge or you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So for example, I've done a Pantser tries plotting video, which is an idea that I got from another video I saw from a creator I watch, but that's obviously appealing. Anyone who's a pantser might be interested. People who are plotters and who have been swearing that plotting is the way to go might be interested. And it's like you trying something out of your comfort zone in terms of writing, you know? Look for good keywords when you're brainstorming your video ideas. If I have a video idea, I will sometimes plug it right into TubeBuddy to see if the keyword is good, if it's searchable, because that's going to help people to discover your videos if you're using good keywords in your titles and your descriptions. I've also started using hashtags in my description. I think you can use 3 or 4 in your video description. I think those are actually doing something. I can't vouch for sure, but I like to use keywords in my titles, in my actual description. So the body part of my description right at the top that's like, hi, welcome to this writing vlog, etc. And then also putting hashtags in there. Testing another author's writing routine can also be a great video idea. And that's just like a fun, easy way to spice up a writing vlog in a way that's really going to appeal to new people to your channel. And again, just try and keep in mind, if you were an external person who didn't know you, didn't know your channel, what type of title or video topic might make you click on a video from a creator you don't know? And those types of things are generally going to be good titles. I try to keep a decent balance between regular writing vlogs, you know, episodes of my rough draft vlog series, and then more challenge type videos or sit down chatty videos like my plan my writing schedule with me, or writing like Sarah J. Maas, or my AI writes a chapter of my book video. I try to keep a balance there to keep things feeling fresh and make sure that I'm not falling too hard in one or the other direction, because I know people really do like the writing vlogs, but having the other content can help people to discover you too. My last thing that I'm going to mention here is really don't underestimate the importance of your title and thumbnail. That is going to decide your click-through rate, aka how many people are actually clicking on your video, and that is pretty much what I've found to be the biggest determining factor in whether a video of mine does well or not, is the click-through rate. So for your thumbnail, take your time with it, try to design it as well as you can, use attention-grabbing text and a really good screen capture or image. Don't be afraid to use photos in your thumbnails. Try not to use a really low quality or bad lighting image in your thumbnails. Those are not clickable and people are not going to want to click on it. Also, and I know this is somewhat ironic because the sun is setting, so the light in here is getting worse by the second, but don't underestimate the importance of good lighting. That's one of the biggest differences to me between a video that looks professional and doesn't, is whether the lighting's good. I've started like tilting this lamp so that's creating like a kind of warm light right against the wall, and I really like how that looks and how it contrasts with the more blue tones of the kitchen. Be intentional with your lighting and also with how you frame your shots. The aesthetics of a video matter, and that is one of the things that is going going to appeal to people when they're watching you for the first time, especially. And then once they're kind of hooked on your personality, you can get away with being a little more haphazard with your angles and your backgrounds and stuff. I would also say put yourself together for your videos for the most part. I've noticed I feel a lot more confident and I speak more confidently and feel better about myself when I post and edit the video. If I take the time to put myself together, do my hair and makeup, whatever makes you feel confident. Okay, now let's get into the tips and advice portion of this video. First off, I want to say, I think with an AuthorTube channel, you're already in a great spot to grow on YouTube because it is a specific niche and that is always going to make it easier to grow. When you have a really general channel, it's a lot harder to get people to commit to subscribing to you or watching your videos because your content might be a little bit all over the place. They might be interested in one video but not necessarily another. With AuthorTube, you already have the incredible advantage that all of your content is centered around writing and your author journey. And so if people subscribe to you, chances are they'll be interested in all, if not almost all, of your videos, which is a great advantage because that's really going to help you in the algorithm. When people get recommended you, they're going to want to watch other videos of yours and they're going to be a lot more willing to subscribe because the expectations are super clear for the type of content you're going to be posting. The first piece of advice that I would give, and I think that this really helped me grow right off the bat, my first video that I ever posted is still my most viewed video to this day. It has over 5,000 views and it was talking about what I was doing for my NaNoWriMo project. And the reason in hindsight that I really think this video worked is because I focused on telling a story. And that kind of leads into my first tip, which is get people invested in the journey. So what's interesting is that when I first made that video, I kind of thought the really chatty style of it, the amount of context that I was giving was going to hurt the video. I didn't expect it to do very well because I was talking a lot about my personal journey, my history with writing, things that I wasn't sure if people would be interested in. So when that video did so well, I was like, oh, pleasantly surprised because I think when you hear a lot of YouTube advice, they tend to tell you to be very concise and to the point and not leave any extra fluff or context about yourself that people might not care about. But I think with AuthorTube, the way your channel really thrives is when people are invested in you, your projects, your journey, and they want to see you succeed. So I think you need to give a little bit of context, give people something that they can relate to. For example, I was in the early stages of my writing journey after not writing for several years. This was my first full-length manuscript that I was attempting to write, and I shared a lot of my feelings around that, as well as how I got back into wanting to write, etc. And I think that really helped me because people who also were in a similar stage of their writing process, maybe they were also just getting started or also balancing writing with a full-time job, which I talked about, they could really relate to where I was at in the process. And this is where being an early writer or someone who's still figuring it out can really actually help you because a lot more people are going to be able to relate to that stage of your journey than when you're like a super successful published author. You know what I mean? Get people invested in the journey, share a decent amount of details about who you are, how you came to writing, share your process as much as you possibly can because once people are invested, they're going to want to see how the project turns out. They want to see you finish the book and that's going to be your hardcore audience that sticks with you long term. Yes, you can create more short, snappy videos with very little personal context, but those people are only going to be there for what they can get out of the video. They're not going to be as interested in your personal journey as an author. And I think it's honestly more valuable to have maybe a smaller audience that's really invested than a huge audience of people who don't really care about you. You know what I mean? Tip number 2 would be to create series and videos that sort of very well go together as well as cross-link your videos. So I have a couple playlists on my channel that have actually gotten quite a few views as playlists themselves. So I have my NaNoWriMo playlist and my rough draft vlogs playlist. And with both of those playlists, there's a very clear through line of what order you should be watching those videos in. You got to start at the top, go to the end. And therefore, if people discover my channel, it's very easy for them to binge my content. And bingeable content is a really good way to get in good with the YouTube algorithm. YouTube loves when someone finds one of your videos and then watches more of them. So if you're able to create a series, it really helps to create that feeling of like a storyline. It helps to encourage people to watch more than one of your videos. And they're going to want to watch to the end of the series to see you finish the project or finish whatever you're creating the series for. My third tip would be to encourage people to engage with your content. Something that I really like to do is either asking a question for people to answer down in the comments, which I feel like people really engage with, or asking them to leave like a certain emoji or phrase if they got to the end of the video. This really encourages people to leave comments and is nice too because it can start up a bit of a conversation. For example, I'll ask something like, do you create playlists for your book projects? What's your favorite time of day to write? And people people really love to talk about those sorts of things, so you'll get a lot higher engagement on your videos if you leave some sort of prompt or like action item for your viewers to do once they're finished with the video. The fourth tip that I would give is to really focus on your titles and do keyword research. Now, I've noticed a huge difference when I really started doubling down on this. For a while, I was titling my videos in not a very search optimized way, but once I made that switch, I noticed my views go up a lot. So let's take two videos for example. So this video was titled The Rough Draft Vlogs 2, How I Get Out of a Writing Slump, Magic System, and Scrapping Scenes. Now this video still did absolutely fine, but that was an example of me just writing a title that I thought might appeal to my regular viewers, but it's not really gonna pull in a fresh audience. If someone has never seen me or my channel before and they see the title, The Rough Draft Vlogs 2, they're not necessarily gonna click on it. They're like, what is this series? I don't know this girl. Why would I care about the second episode of this series? Okay? Versus my video that has done second best on my channel is titled Write a Novel with Me, Romantasy Writing Vlog, and Spilling My Publishing Plans. Now, even if you've never seen my content or my channel before, you know exactly what to expect in this video. You see the Write a Novel with Me, Romantasy Writing Vlog. Okay, this is a writing vlog. I'm writing a book with this girl, and that's a lot more appealing to someone who doesn't know me, as well as that can help to rank in search because those are strong keywords. So I've found that both Write a Novel with Me and writing vlog have been two really good performing keywords for me. I'm gonna be putting those in a lot more of my videos going forward. I actually get quite a bit of views from people just searching writing vlog, which is very interesting to me. So you should absolutely be putting that in the titles of your videos if you're gonna be creating writing vlogs. Let's break down my first video ever to kind of see why I think this video worked. So first of all, NaNoWriMo is in big bold text, which seems to really work for this channel. I have some context on the thumbnail as well. It says, has literally not written a book since high school, ... which is kind of interesting. Maybe some other people might relate. It says newbie edition, and it has a little screenshot of my project. And then the title is, so I'm attempting my first NaNoWriMo ever. So kind of an attention grabbing title. My first ever is like kind of exciting. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a prime example of things that work. Bold text. I've also noticed that titles that include with me have really worked on this channel. So that might be something to try out. For example, Write a Novel with Me, Plan My 2024 Writing Schedule with Me, Plot My Romantasy Book with Me. I've noticed that those have done really well. In terms of actually doing the keyword research, I would recommend the app TubeBuddy. There's a free version that you can use on your phone, or you can get a paid version on your computer. I'll have that linked down in the description. I have, I think, the premium plan. I got a comment from one of you guys asking, how do you come up with unique ideas when creating content so that it doesn't seem like you are repeating the same thing every video? This is a great question because I do feel like one of the complications / difficulties with creating content in such a specific niche is the fear of getting repetitive or every video feeling the same. The first thing I will say is that people enjoy the comfort of a creator. People enjoy the comfort of videos. I have several creators where a lot of their content has a similar feel and a similar subject matter, even similar visuals, and it doesn't bother me because I like the creator, but also because I find those elements comforting, they're familiar. So the first thing I'll say is that something that I do to try and keep my writing vlogs fresh is I'll try to find a couple topics within the video that I can dive a little deeper on and kind of discuss. So this could be something about writing craft or my publishing plans or things that I'm considering, certain scenes that I'm working on, diving a little bit deeper into them so that I can have more interesting specific discussions in my vlogs that kind of differentiate them. So for example, in my last vlog, I talked about how my characters express affection and dived a little bit into my character's psychology. That was a very specific thing that I only really discussed in that vlog. Sometimes it's me answering questions. I'll always ask people to leave questions in the comments of my vlogs so that I have specific topics I can talk about in future videos that I know people are interested in hearing. And sometimes it's just me reflecting on a chapter that I just worked on, and I know it's a little bit different because some people don't share as much detail about their WIP as I have, so I can understand how that would present an additional challenge if you're trying to keep your project a little bit more under wraps, a little less out in the open. But there are totally still things that you can talk about in a more vague way about the craft of writing or what you want to do with your writing in the future that won't necessarily divulge those details. So yeah, I would say find a few specific topics you can deep dive into in your vlog and just make sure that you're bringing new questions or little subtopics to the surface and mixing that in with your regular vlog footage that's a little bit more familiar and maybe repetitive. I also feel like something that's helped me to keep my vlogs feeling fresh is changing up the scenes and the visuals a lot. So when I am filming a vlog, obviously this is a sit down video, so different, but when I'm filming a vlog, I'll film clips outside with me talking into my phone and like greenery in the background. I'll film photo booth clips because that's a little bit of an interesting visual. Then I'll film in different spots of my house, different angles, add in fun B-roll of me walking around Los Angeles or going to different coffee shops. So the vlog feels really like broken up by different shots and a lot more interesting and engaging. And I'm not just always sitting in one spot during a vlog. And I'll also add in fun little text and graphics to keep the pace moving along, as well as some like music changes, just so that things feel a little bit like fresh and new in each vlog. But yeah, I'm always still trying to make sure that I'm keeping the vlogs fresh while also not making it overly complicated for myself, because at the end of the day, if people are interested in hearing about your writing process, just those authentic thoughts are going to be what they want to see. Another tip that I would give, specifically if you're planning to self-publish, is to start sharing about your WIP early. So start giving little enticing bits of information, maybe mentioning a little description of the project you're working on at the beginning of your vlogs. I typically give a little synopsis of like, I'm currently working on a new adult romantasy. It's a journey book. It has dystopian vibes, enemies to lovers, blah, blah, blah. I'll say some of that stuff at the beginning of my vlogs. And it's really cool because I've actually gotten quite a few comments at this point of people saying, I'm excited to read this book. I can't wait to read this when it comes out. These are some of the things I love in books, like stuff like that. I've also shared a few little like quotes or passages. That's something I do want to do more as I enter into revision and have more sections that I'm happy with. But anything you can do to get people kind of a little bit hooked on your book idea. Again, this is so that hopefully when you do publish the book, they will be interested. They'll be like, I've been invested in this book from the beginning. I know I love the tropes, so I'm gonna go buy it. Divulge as much information as you're comfortable with. Obviously, you don't need to give away all the details, and I know some people are a little more precious about keeping their stories close to their jacket, but at the very least, you could share things like the genre, the tropes, things that are very general, but that still are gonna hook readers who know that that's the type of books that they like. Let me know down in the comments, do you make author content on any platform? Are you hoping to start making author content? Everything I use to create my videos is always in the description, so feel free to check that out for some more resources. But yeah, this is really fun. I love talking about this topic. Let me know if you guys want a part 2, if you have any questions, and leave a video camera emoji down in the comments if you made it all the way to this part of the video. I will see you next week with, dare I say, the final episode of the Rough Draft Vlogs. Kind of crazy. All right, bye guys.